Did you steal the watch?
I did not.
Someone laugh.
Next, Mr. Weinstein asked you a few questions regarding whether or not Mr. Kendrick was inside of the home at the time that the search was taking place. Do you remember a line of questionings regarding where Mr. Kendrick was?
I do.
When the SWAT team made entry, did they clear out the house before you went inside of the home?
They did.
And was that after Mr. Kendrick was apprehended after fleeing the house?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you made aware of where Mr. Kendrick was found, was apprehended?
Yes.
Where was that?
Outside of the home.
As a part of that investigation, did you ever recover a cell phone from Mr. Kendrick?
Yes.
And did you have that cell phone extracted in the same way that we talked about other cell phones being extracted?
Yes, a warrant was drafted and it was extracted by Kevin Leon Packer.
In that phone, did you find any information that was taken on May 9th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. What did you find?
A text message, I believe, saying that I'm at Slime Spot, if I remember. I have to see the text message in front of me, but
So were there any pictures of his phone from that day?
I'd have to look at the dates on the photos. There are photos but from the home, but I don't know if it's that day.
Okay. Permission to approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 534 VV and 534 VVA. Tell me if you recognize 534 VV and 534 VVA.
I do. These are photos from Mr. Kendrick's phone.
And do those pictures have a date on which they were captured on the phone?
May 9th, 2022.
And do they appear to be photos that were taken from Mr. Kendrick's phone after you reviewed it pursuant to the search warrant and the cell phone extraction?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit 534 VV and 534 VVA into evidence.
Those are admitted.
No objections.
And we'll publish in a moment. And is this a picture that was found in Mr. Kendrick's phone?
It is.
Okay. And do you recognize anyone in the picture?
Martinez Arnold.
Right. And who is Martinez Arnold? Which individual is Martinez Arnold?
In the white t-shirt and the black pants.
Okay. And if you can just show on the TV screen the date in which it says the picture was, I believe it says it was modified.
May 9th, 2022.
And then did you also say earlier that you saw a text message in the phone on that same date as well?
Yes.
All right. Now, I want to transition to Mr. Shard's line of questioning. Mr. Shard spoke with you in detail about one of the search warrants you drafted. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to mark as 530 VV. And I'm going to go to, I believe it was page, unnumbered page 5. Excuse me, unnumbered page 7.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at 530 VV, unnumbered page 7, is this the page that you and Mr. Sharp were discussing with the YSL Rule the World Kid 24 mil on the N-words head?
Yes.
And does that appear to look like a page of your search warrant affidavit that you drafted for this particular search warrant in this case?
It does.
Right. You're right. This time the state would like to admit page 530 VV unnumbered page 7 into evidence.
Can I seek clarification from the state?
Sure.
Can't wait to watch her try to clean up this little Uzi Vert thing.
Just a minute.
She said she would do it again, so it doesn't matter if she was
Alright.
wrong at first.
It's just that one page.
Just that one page, Your Honor. And permission to publish.
You may.
And I want you first, is that page, the unnumbered page 7 of 530 VV?
It is.
All right. And are we able to zoom in?
I mean, the font looks bigger, but maybe it was a screenshot of the extraction.
The portion that has the circle, how did you grab that information and put it inside of your warrant?
I believe it was a screen grab from Instagram records that were received.
And as you screen grab, is that how you place it inside of the warrant?
It is.
Once we get it back up, I want you to read what is the paragraph right above the screen grab. Now, while we're waiting for that, Mr. Shard, do you recall him asking you a lot of questions about writing reports in this case?
I do.
Over the course of these 2 years, have you ever had opportunity to meet with Mr. Shard?
I have not.
Have you been available to meet with Mr. Shard if he had any questions about any information contained in the warrant or March 22 folders or anything that you may have done in relation to this case?
Absolutely, I have been.
Now, are you able to see and read the paragraph before before the screen grab?
Yes.
Can you please read it?
In a conversation thread from February 4th, 2021 to February 7th, 2021, Jeffrey Williams brags that YSL rules the world and has $24 million. Jeffrey Williams then tells YSL members to pay him directly, and he pays for everything already for the members. This shows Williams' leadership role within the enterprise, directing the actions of YSL members and obtaining the profits from the enterprise.
At any point in there, did you say that he was given $24 million to try to kill Lucci?
I did not.
Did you infer that in anything that you wrote right there?
I did not.
And is that what you presented to the judge in addition to all the other pages of that affidavit?
It is.
And how many pages is that affidavit?
Several. They're not numbered, so it's multiple.
Now, do you remember, you can take that down, thank you. Do you remember there being a line of questioning regarding Mr. Stillwell's song Slap Talk and the verse where he said, I just beat a murder rat, pay my lawyer 30 for that?
Correct?
And are you aware of when Mr. Stillwell was initially arrested on murder warrants regarding Donovan Thomas Jr.?
I know it was sometime in late 2015.
To your knowledge, did he ever receive a bond on that original murder warrant?
At some point, yes.
Okay, do you know when?
I want to say maybe the winter of 2016.
To your knowledge, between 2016 winter and 2019, was there any indictment for the murder of Donovan Thomas?
No,
Between 2019 and 2022, was there an indictment for Donovan Thomas?
no.
When did this indictment for the Donovan Thomas murder occur?
May 9th, 2022.
And when did the Donovan Thomas murder occur?
I believe January 10th of 2015.
So if my math serves me correctly, it took about 7 years for for there to be an indictment in Donovan Thomas murder.
Correct.
I'm going to now publish the video that Mr. Shar talked about on Direct, which is the full video of the screen grab regarding Quarmavius Nichols. Remember, do you know what we're referring to?
I do.
All right.
This might be a pretty short redirect.
And this is going to be for the record, Your Honor, and we're going to we're going to ask to admit 471 VVA into evidence, Your Honor.
All right, that's admitted.
No objection.
And permission to publish.
You may.
And I think the court asked the question we need.
I tried to mute it and pressed rewind. Oh my gosh. Don't get me, YouTube. Don't get me. So, and this is a good time. Dancing Horse had asked what happened with this on Cross yesterday. So the state pointed out that it had been excluded for a different reason. This whole series of stories on Instagram as a whole video was ruled out as just, you know, cumulative. But Shart didn't realize that the screenshot was from that thing that was taken out. So he talked with the state yesterday and they agreed we'll play the whole thing on redirect and we might get some recross from Shart. I expect recross on this after they play the whole thing during redirect. So. Sorry, I keep pausing McPauserton with the music. Oh, I agree, Sheriff. Sheriff Chuck says he baited them. Yeah.
Did my time, I ain't
And this is what they want me to do on Scudder Heights. I might die. Never get on a fucking roller coaster a day in my life.
Oh, you talking about? I don't want to talk. Won't speak on that, them two.
Grabbed in addition we published earlier. And is that the video that you screen grabbed?
There we
in
go.
addition to the two pictures that we published earlier?
It is.
All right. And do you recall when you pulled and screen grabbed that video?
Probably a day or two after the homicide of Mr. Drinks.
And on here where it says 18 hours, would this video have been posted this particular video been posted 18 hours before you screen grabbed it?
Correct. Whatever day, I'm not sure the day of the actual capture, but it would have been 18 hours before that.
And if it said 1 hour, would that video been posted 1 hour before the capture?
Correct.
Now, there was a line of questioning regarding Shell Kell and the 2 shells on his face. Do you remember that?
Correct.
The Christian McMillan and Darius Ford case, is that still an open and pending investigation?
It is.
Are you the lead detective?
I am not.
Have you done additional investigation on that case?
I've assisted on that investigation.
And have you turned that information over to the lead detective?
I have.
And is it up to the lead detective to take out warrants or do whatever next steps in the investigation?
It is.
DeMarco Boyer, when did you confirm that Boyer, let me strike that. How did you confirm that Boyer was at the gas station? How were you able to confirm that information?
There was a call that precedes the call at 9:59 that let me know that they were at the gas station.
And did you ever get phone records to confirm whether or not there was accuracy regarding that call?
I don't believe I obtained them, but I did see them and the results of them.
And to your knowledge, do you know when those phone records were obtained?
It would be a couple months after the indictment, I think. I didn't obtain them, so I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Let me ask you, do you know if it was before or after the indictment?
After.
Mr. Shar asked you some questions about tinted windows. Do you remember that?
Correct.
Right. Have you ever had any cars tinted, windows tinted?
I have.
And have you ever received instructions after the car has been tinted on what you should do about winding up and winding down the windows?
I have.
Have you always listened to that instruction?
I tried to, yes.
Has there been a time when, and let me ask you this, what is the instruction generally?
Don't roll your windows down for 3 to 5 days.
You said you tried to. Have there been times where you have rolled it down before the 3 or 5 day period?
The next morning, getting out of my parking deck, I accidentally rolled down my window.
In your experience, did anything happen to the tent?
It did not.
So I want to go to State's Exhibit 437 VV and the call that's on March 15th, 2022 at about 2 o'clock a.m.
Yo. All right, man. There's all kinds of shit going on. I just jump in the other car, bro. Y'all nigga don't be getting dropped off and they ain't got no motherfucking ride to go back home to. That don't make sense. Yeah, yeah. The fuck you getting dropped off for a nigga ride with a nigga who brought you? Yeah. That's stupid as fuck. So any you need to be on the gun ass, y'all. What's on with you? We right here. We right here down here. Y'all what? Ride pads around the sea.
Here we go with this again.
Get a fill up.
Gotta get it filled up. Right.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm listening.
Huh?
I said, alright, I'm from this note. What's going on?
I just I'm pulling out now. Y'all nigga,
Get back, son.
somebody
You
call
say,
me. I was gonna jump in with y'all niggas.
alright. That's what I'm saying. Call when you're done.
Alright, I'm gonna get it pulled up now.
Alright.
Now I want to pull, are you familiar with the vault page of the actual wiretap information that you receive when you get the wiretap?
Yes, so typical, oh,
Sorry, the PDF pages.
Yes.
And earlier, did we talk about yesterday that sometimes within the wiretap, there was mapping information?
if it's available, the wiretap will display a map of where the device is at that time.
And is this what the PDF page looks like when you get the wiretap information?
So when you export the wiretap data, this is the PDF form, how it's going to print out and be exported.
And does it have a link for the audio and a link for the map?
Correct.
And is the audio link, would that link us back to the audio that we just heard?
It will allow you to play the call associated with this record.
And then what does the map link do?
It will show you, if it's available, the map of where the device is located at the time of the call.
Okay, you click on the map.
All right, so we're gonna get caught up. Law and Crime is back. They have closed captions, so we're gonna switch back. But, and to clarify here, we are not on, that was not Infamous Sylvia, the handle. It's Infamous Sylvia streaming it, but she has a second channel, Infamous Sly. That's the channel that we were streaming while Law and Crime was down. It's pinned to the top of the chat, so if you don't have her second channel, make sure you grab it at the top of the chat there. And we are back hopefully with closed captions. So let's see if we get captions.
And if you can use the pointer. Looking at the map, are you able to see the area or the neighborhood that the phone, that it appears that the phone is in?
Yes,
Okay. What neighborhood is that?
Mechanicsville. Right. All right here.
And where it has the pin drop, is that where the phone is supposed to be located on the map?
It should be within that radius. So it'll give you a radius and say within this many meters, and that judges how big the circle is going to be.
And on the radius, do you see Fulton Street Southwest?
I do.
And do you also see McDaniel Street?
I do.
Is the is I-Windsor and I-20 in this general vicinity of this area?
No, it will be right here.
I'm going to object to vague general vicinity.
Sustained.
Within the map, are you able to see where the I-20 Windsor area is?
Right here.
Are you able to see, court's indulgence for a moment. Thank you. Now, Do you recall Mr. Shar asking you about whether or not the phone call that was at 9:59, where the call says get on FaceTime, whether that was, where did you get that time information from?
Yes.
And where was it that you received that time from?
The wiretap itself.
I'm going to publish for you what's already been admitted as 397 VVD, which is the ankle monitor location information. Looking at 397 VVD, do you see a time for 9:59 p.m.?
I do.
And do you see a location for 9:59 p.m.?
464 Windsor.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as 397 VVC. Do you see that same address located on 397 VVC?
I do.
Okay. And is that the is that the BP gas station?
It is.
And is that the BP gas station located at Windsor and Fulton Street?
It is.
Is that the same BP gas station that you saw in surveillance video?
It is.
Is that the same BP gas station where the car that was rented by Shannon Stillwell and Demikion Garlington is inside of is at that gas station?
It is.
Is that the same gas station where the white Ford Fusion is in, that DeMarco Boyer is in, at that same gas station?
It is.
And is it at 9:59 that that call comes in that for them to get on FaceTime?
It is.
And in looking at the surveillance video, is that moments before or after the red car in which Mr. Drinks was in is pulling off from that gas station?
I'm going to object to cause for speculation. I don't know how the video cameras link up.
I think that's an argument.
Do you want to rephrase the question?
Sure. On the surveillance video, do you see at approximately 9:59 from the BP surveillance video, that car, Mr. Drinks' car leaving the gas station?
I believe Mr. Drink's car leaves the gas station, and the other cars shortly thereafter follow.
And then do they then go to, those cars go to the light that's on the FedEx surveillance video?
Yes, they stop at the light.
Now let's go to the FedEx surveillance video.
Sure.
All right, we're back to the video, guys.
Now, what time is on the surveillance video on the bottom? How much into the video are we at?
1 hour, 1 minute, and 32 seconds.
All right. Mr. Bot, if you can press play, please. Is that the red car approaching the light?
It is.
Right. Is that now the first white car, which is the white Audi now approaching next to Mr. Drinks?
It is.
And is that the white Ford Fusion then approaching next to the white Audi?
It is.
All right. And are those cars just all at the light currently?
Yes.
And do we now see cars moving in the opposite direction?
Yes, oncoming traffic is starting to move.
And actually, Mr. Abadi, can we go back to when the cars first get to the light? I want you to tell me, I'm Investigator Viverito, what time does the red car first get to the light?
One hour, 1 minute and 36 seconds.
What time, and tell me what time the Audi gets to the light?
At the 45-second mark.
And what time does the Fusion get to the light?
52-second mark.
What time does oncoming traffic start?
1 hour, 2 minutes and 11 seconds.
Are they still at the light?
They are.
What time does this car that's behind pull up?
1 hour, 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
Do you see the white Audi pull off?
I do.
What time was that?
You may have to roll it back for
Okay,
a
if you
second.
can pull back for a second.
You may have to go back more because it's already pulled off.
You can go back to 102.11. We'll pause. Do you see the Audi pulling off?
Foot comes off the brake at about 1 minute, 1 hour, 2 minutes and 21 seconds, and they pull off at 1 hour, 2 minutes and 24 seconds, or 23 seconds.
And prior to the Audi pulling off, do you see the Fusion make any movement?
No.
Okay, let's go back. Can you go back to 102.15?
Oh, the Fusion starts creeping up.
And what time is that?
It's around like the 17 or 18 second mark.
And is the white Audi going into oncoming traffic?
Yes, it darts into incoming traffic, oncoming traffic.
The lane that Mr. Drink's car in, is that the left turn lane?
It is.
The car that pulled up behind, does that car go left and turn left?
Yes.
And you said that you've been out to this area before.
I have.
Is the middle lane a turn lane?
No.
Is it only the left lane?
Yes.
Now, if we can go back again to 102.15. Now, Investigator Viverito, I want you to focus on, remember the individual you saw walking in the video before?
Yes.
I want you to focus on that individual walking.
Okay.
And when if you can show the jury when you first see the person walking.
Right there. Or is it not on my screen? It is. Oh, there it is.
And you keep playing. Do you still see the person walking?
I do.
Are they still walking when the car makes a U-turn?
It is. They are.
Can you still see them walking?
It's muffled, but yeah, they're still continuing towards the intersection on foot.
And is Mr. Drink's car still sitting in the left lane?
It is.
Do you still see the individual walking?
You see, surfacing right here. It's very hard to see, but you see the movement right here.
And he's still walking towards the light?
Correct.
On Windsor Street, where the individual is walking, what is to the right of where he's walking?
I believe I remember correctly, some bushes or shrubbery, and there may be a wall of some sort. I can't 100%.
Now, we're gonna have to go back again to about 1:02:11. Again, is that where all three cars, the Fusion, the Audi, and and Mr. Drink's car, all at the light?
Correct.
Now let's focus our attention on the car that pulls up. What time does the car pull up?
At about the 27 to 28 second mark at 1 hour, 2 minutes, 27 or 28 seconds.
And I actually want to pause. Mr. Abadi, are you able to zoom in to that portion now? And once you zoom in, if you go back to 1:02:11. If it's not working, we can just go back. Thank you. Is that just a zoomed in area of the location that we've just been looking at?
It is.
All right. And now I'm going to focus on a white car that pulls up. Do you see the Fusion pull for it first?
Correct.
Is that the Audi pulling off into traffic?
Correct.
Now, is the white car behind those cars?
It is.
And from here, can you tell if the car that pulls up is behind The car with Mr. Drinks?
You'll see like a gap here. It's like the tires are back towards the back of the car.
In the turning lane?
It's in the middle lane.
Okay. Keep going. And do you see the car flash on and off and the car still behind Mr. Drink's car?
Yes.
And is that light red?
It is.
And does the light turn green when he goes to make the left turn?
It is.
Following road traffic
Correct.
or following the correct signals?
Correct.
And is the car still sitting there?
It is.
At any point in time in this video, do you see any muzzle flash?
No.
But was Mr. Drink still shot inside of that vehicle?
Yes.
Now, when the Audi that Mr. Stillwell takes off, does he go left as well?
Yes.
Right. I want to go back to 397 VVD. And I want to go all the way up to the top initially,
Okay.
this exhibit. Now, do you see the top, the categories of the information that's contained within this exhibit?
I do.
Do you see column I?
Yes.
And what does column I say?
Speed.
All right. I want to go back to March 14th, 2022. And I want to scroll to when we last looked at this document at 9:59, was he at the location at 464 Windsor Street?
He was.
Okay. And at 10 o'clock, was this at 464 Windsor Street?
He was.
That's the same BP gas station.
Correct.
All right. At 10:01, was the encounter at 405 Cooper Street Southwest?
It was.
All right. And do you see that column I where it says 17 and 18?
Correct.
All right. And that's in miles per hour, right?
Correct.
Okay. When we go at 10:02, PJV2 plus VR, is that at 18 seconds?
18 miles.
18 miles per hour?
Yes.
Excuse me. And I want you to remember this PJV2 location, all right?
Okay.
The next location, 500 Northside Drive Southwest. How many miles per hour?
90.
And what time is that?
10:03.
Is that 2 minutes after the car is at the, or the ankle monitor at the PJV2 location?
A minute
excuse
after.
me, a minute after the PJB2 location,
Yes.
right? I want to show you 397 VVF.
Yes.
Here, you guys, my bad. Um, just saying, something interesting might happen, and I don't have any promises. I'm just going to share. Let's see, home. Every Wednesday, Kayla B, Miss Jefferson, and Millionaire Mel do a program called WTF Wednesdays where they react to YSL, everything that happened in the previous week. There may have been something interesting that happened in the last hour or so, so definitely check that out. There is a link there. If I get more certainty there, I will definitely let you know. And we're approaching, I said it in the chat, but just want to say out loud, I do think we'll get to recross today. So I think we'll get to recross. I know people don't love when the state's doing the questioning. I don't think we have much longer of them. I think they're getting through the last of their stuff. And maybe it'll go quicker if this approach ends up with Hylton having to move on from something. And yeah, I don't particularly have tea of my own. And I really think when you hear it, it's not really going to surprise you. It would not surprise you at all. It's not my tea to share. And it might come out in court, so we'll see. Big thank you to Heart of Inspiration earlier, who said, I'm not visiting any of y'all until I get an inventory of what's in your house, right? You're not going to get me caught up, right? And now the state's showing a picture like, here's proof that Diamante Kendrick was in the house during the raid, even though it was a picture that was taken presumably right before the raid and not actually physically during the raid. But, you know, their representation is whatever the representation is. Maybe Doug will recross on that. But Heart of Inspiration's playing it safe here. Love to see it. All love to Heart of Inspiration, one of my favorite people out here. Met each other covering a different trial, and here we are back together for YSL. So I'm going to drop a link here. Heart of Inspiration has done great astrology reads on the dynamics of Whitaker and Adrian Love. Definitely recommend checking it out because it was spot on. So there is that there. STS, thanks again for sniping another membership. Tina Haskenhoff says, if Detective Viverito uses her superior intellect and I'm suddenly missing, please be sure to bail me out of Rice Street. I apparently still have a flagrant affiliation with ESPN via my Hulu, Disney, and subscription bundle. So, her superior intellect is hilarious. Yeah, we're going to make sure we bail you out, Tina. And yes, be careful with this ESPN affiliation because Viverito gets to determine whatever she wants it to mean depending on who she's being asked a question about. So, shout out to Tina. Love this here. Thank you for the support. Dave911 says, since Viverito wants to be shady and hide from the camera, we should change our profile pics to her face while she's on the stand. Hilarious idea. Everyone just has a bush picture of this bush that's here. Too funny. Oh my gosh. And then also back to Tina here. Rice Street says, once I got you, Tina. So be careful. Be careful. Let's see. Mike the Mob says, good morning. It's me, Miss V. Listen. She got up on that stand with a different approach this morning, and it all crumbled down an hour in. All right, jury's leaving. They're sending the jury out. They didn't send the jury out before the break, right? And sent the witness out. All right.
Your Honor, I don't know if Mr. Sharp's going to tell you why he objected. I had already asked the witness the question about the 90 miles per hour. So that question was done. My next question, I asked her to read the location of PJV2. That's it, what was on the spreadsheet. Then that is when Mr. Sharp objected. So that is the objection that's on the floor. At this point, I've asked her to read PJV2.
Well, she is reading off of an ankle monitor report from the ankle monitor company. To the extent that she reads off of it, that's not really my issue. It's when she starts to interpret the data. She doesn't work for that company. I don't know, for instance, the PGV2, whatever, PJV2, I don't expect to hear her testify or what that means, because she's not the ankle monitor person. The ankle monitor person would have been the person to ask about those things. So I don't get.
What is VJV2?
So the next thing that I was going to show her, which was already admitted, is the picture of PJV2, which is a location that's already in evidence.
But how does she? Okay, so
What you were going to ask her to read.
Yes. So this is the spreadsheet, Your Honor.
Okay.
On here, which I had her read earlier on the spreadsheet, the column has the name, column D has the date and time, column E and F is longitude and latitude, and column G is a location. So before the objection, I believe she was reading, or she had read, at March 14th, 2022 at 10:02 p.m., the location PJV2 plus VR, Atlanta, Georgia. That is what my question entailed. And that was the
Okay, and
objection.
she read that?
She
Or
read,
is- Okay, she read PJV2 plus VR, Atlanta, Georgia?
I believe that. if
Or is that
objection-
when the objection came?
That might have been when the objection came.
Okay, and then what?
And I was just going to have her read the date and time of that location. Then I was going to show her what has been admitted already as already admitted as 397 VVF.
That plots that location
Correct.
that's
by the ankle monitor company? Or by whom?
He showed the ankle monitor company that picture as it correlated to this location here. So we printed out Google images of these locations, PJV2, 464 Windsor, which is what I just showed her previously.
By the latitude and longitude?
Yes.
Somebody plotted latitude and longitude
I don't,
on a map
No, we
to get
pulled
that
up-
location?
No. We pulled up the map. We went into Google and we put PJV2 plus VR. We just Googled it. And we pulled up the location.
so essentially they want someone who doesn't work for the ankle monitor. And mind you, the ankle monitor company person's already here. They want someone who doesn't work for the ankle monitor company to take something that's on the ankle monitor company's Excel sheet and then compare it to a Google printout that the prosecutors
You're right.
printed out, and
That is already in evidence?
that's
You're right.
already in
It's in evidence. It's not, we're not admitting it through her. It's in evidence. The ankle monitor witness introduced it. He
Okay.
introduced it along with the record
Mhm.
of the pictures. And so
Okay.
at this point, when Mr. Shard has
Okay, and
challenged.
then what? So you'll then say, and here's this other piece of evidence that is a plot of PJV2 plus VR.
Is that the location at the light that for the surveillance video that we just observed? Because all of
Okay.
this is in this is all in response to Mr. Shard's cross-examination about what occurred at the light.
Can you put that back up again, please? The thing that was just up. And from this, you are going to have her extrapolate that because at 10:02, his ankle monitor showed him at that location, then what? Because you came up here and were saying, this is going to be able to show that the timeline is accurate across all the different devices. How is it going to do
So the
that?
challenge that Mr. Shard made is that the 9:59 phone call, this started with the phone call at 9:59, which is the wiretap phone call. Mr. Shard asked Investigator Viverito, are you able to know if that is the accurate time?
Uh-huh.
Because of that line of cross-examination, we are now showing Investigator Viverito other admitted evidence that shows a correlation to that 59 time. So when you look at this chart, before we get to the 10:02, which is at PJV2, at 9:59, the
Please
ankle.
put that exhibit back up. Or hand it to me. I'm happy to have a paper copy of it. So now we're talking about 9:59 and not 10:02.
Your Honor, we're showing Mr. Shard started off at 9:59. Then, if you can recall, he went through the entirety of the surveillance video at the FedEx.
Uh-huh.
So that's after 9:59. So what we are showing is other evidence that
He does not dispute that he was at the light
he disputes.
at the same time as Mr. Drinks was.
Your Honor, he disputes that Mr. Stillwell is the person who was shooting. He disputes that the call at 9:59 was a call to get on FaceTime to shoot Mr. Drinks. We are saying that that call, that FaceTime call, is a call where they said we are getting ready to go shoot the ops. That's why they get on FaceTime. So he is challenging all of that, Your Honor. So what we are showing is at 9:59, if you look here on the ankle monitor, he's at 464 Windsor Street. That is the BP gas station. He then a
If the
minute.
9:59 is accurate.
here's,
And lined up to, I mean, I don't see how you can establish that 9:59, according to the ankle monitor company, is, spot on to the second. 9:59, according to the wiretap.
But we're saying that it's accurate time, Your Honor, because he wants.
There's
He's at
no-
464 Windsor, which is where, if you look at the BP gas station video footage, that is when all the cars begin to pull off from the surveillance video at the BP gas station.
But there is
So-
no cross-reference to the wiretap, which is the point.
But-
That's
but
my
the-
only point,
but
is
that's-
959 on the wiretap, we don't know when it is on the rest of these devices, and this information does not give us, or other surveillance systems.
Agreed.
And
Do
this-
you have him on the video at the BP station talking on the phone and going like this?
We have the wiretap that has him, we believe, the phone plot,
I know you believe it. Do you have evidence to establish it?
our evidence is
that-
circumstantial evidence that he is at the gas station. Do we have direct evidence? No, Your
No,
Honor.
do you have evidence that the 959 that you want is the same 959 on all of the different things that recorded time in video?
That is why we're showing this, Your Honor, because we're trying to show circumstantially that all these times are.
How
together.
are you showing circumstantially that it lines up?
Your Honor, because when we look at the ankle monitor information, he is at the 464 Windsor at 9:59. The call comes in at 9:59. The BP gas station surveillance video has 9:59. So we are showing that all of these things coexist. So the time could not just be off because all of the time are at approximately 9:59.
That's if he got the call when he was still at the gas station.
Your Honor,
The fact that they all at some point say 9:59 doesn't establish anything if you don't have a video that shows him talking on the phone at 9:59 so that you can go, aha, see, the video lines up with the ankle monitor that says 464 Windsor Street. Otherwise, it's just what you want it to say, but it doesn't actually, even circumstantially, establish that. You can argue it, but you can't have a witness say, yep, this says 9:59, so that means
but we
that's
didn't
when that.
ask her to say that, Your Honor. We never asked Investigator
but-
Viverito to
but-
say that. We asked
I
her
know,
what
but
time
you
is
were
she.
you were telling me that's what you were
No, it's-
leading up to having her say.
No, it's not, Your Honor. What I said I would never have her say, is he exactly on the phone at that time? Because he's in a tinted car, so we don't know. What we know is from the wiretap that at 9:59, there's a phone call. That's what we know.
That
So I
at
can never-
9:59, according to however the wiretap clock was running.
Correct. Your Honor.
Yes,
And that's
in
what
order
nobody
come out.
disputes that.
And, Your Honor, we've stopped talking about
Ms. Hilton, you
9:59.
came up here and said, I'm asking these questions so that I can establish that the timeline lines up for everything.
Yes, Your Honor, the timeline lines up. So
Okay.
at this point, I can show that all of these different devices are around approximately the same time.
I don't think anybody disputes even that it's
But-
approximately the same time.
Mr. Shard does. Okay.
You can have her, it's in evidence. You can have her read something, but you cannot have her say, yeah, that means all of these times lined up. Or
I
that
never was
means
gonna have-
9:59 here and 9:59 on the wiretap were the same thing.
We never had her. We were finished with the 9:59, Your Honor. The only thing I had just asked her was about PJV2 when he objected. Well, we were finished with 9:59 about 5 questions ago. So the only thing that Mr. Shard objected to at this time was that she was reading PJV2.
No,
That's
that
what the
she was
objection-
about to interpret.
She was not, and that's the thing. That
Okay,
was-
well, great. She's not going to.
Okay,
but-
well,
and that wasn't the state's intention.
I
Okay,
don't
then I have
know.
no idea why you think any of this is going to establish that all of the times lined up, but
I'm going to object on relevance grounds at this point, because I don't know where we're going, but it seems that they were trying to establish something. They said they're done establishing that, and Investigator Viverito is still interpreting ankle monitor data. So I'm going to object to relevance in 403.
Your Honor, as I stated earlier, Mr. Shard has challenged what occurred at the light.
I
His-
know.
So at this point, we're just showing, based on admitted evidence, what occurred at the light, Your Honor. That's all.
Backs.
Can I ask a question? Why is it improper or not relevant? So if there has been questions and testimony about whether the times for everything sync up, I think has been Mr. Sharp's, his argument the entire time. Well, in the screenshot that was admitted to Detective Hogan, and certain.
Okay, I didn't rule that it wasn't relevant. What we discussed up here at the bench was that it's not within the scope of redirect, which is when Ms. Hilton said, oh, yes, it is, because I'm going to be establishing that all of the times line up.
But on cross, he disputed that the 959 from wiretap was anywhere close or could be related to the 959 anywhere else.
Was established as being the same 959, and I have heard nothing that, maybe you could tell me how you can establish that.
So at 9:59, when he makes the FaceTime or the call, he is at 464 Windsor Street. Okay, so then you go to your next step.
No, that is, how do we know that he's at 464 Windsor Street?
Says it.
Because some other item of evidence says it, and we don't know that they're all running on the same clock.
That's what we're trying to show you it is, because at 9:59, if everyone would just wait, and we'll get to the big ta-da. So at 9:59 on the wiretap thing, it says 464 Windsor Street. On the ankle monitor, on a separate device, at 9:59, Mr. Jackson is at 464 Windsor Street. That correlates. They're in the exact same place at the exact same time. At 10:02, it shows that he's at PJVR2, whatever. That's the intersection of I-20 and the light. And then at 10:02 on the FedEx thing, and it says 10:02:17. So it's the exact same thing. It's to show that all the times line up. All this questioning that the times are not accurate, that the times don't sync up. We're proving that they actually do sync up, which is what he challenged Investigator Viverito about this 9:59, and she's just making it up, and all the evidence is being presented as how she wants it to. And now we have physical evidence from different videos that show they actually all do sync up, that they're all running on the same, time width or band, or whatever.
I think you can argue that. I don't think that is established. But if you want to have her say, but Ms. Hilton says she'll already left 9:59 anyway. So I'm still at a loss as to where we are. But we'll just get her back in and.
I have a motion before the jury comes out.
Here we go. Here we go.
Unfortunately, it's my job to further tax the patience of the court.
What's that?
This might be it.
Yeah, I have a motion to strike the testimony of Investigator Viverito.
The
as
tea.
well as
This
any
is the
evidence
tea.
that came under her. And the reason I make this motion, Your Honor, is yesterday it came up that she had not been, that she had been following the case. The court asked me to not
No,
pursue
it
that.
did
I'm not.
Come up that she had been following the case. It came up that she knew that somebody had mentioned her on Twitter.
Okay, and your opinion would have been different if she was following the case? Because,
No, if you know that she was following the case, that doesn't exclude her as a witness. You can let the jury know that.
okay, because
You can ask her that.
I can ask her about her following the case?
Sure, and we'll see what she says.
Okay,
And if that's so, then it still doesn't exclude her testimony. It just lets the jury know, well, she may know some of this other stuff from listening to some other witness.
okay, because what I would like to get into, and we may as well bring it up now before the jury is here, is that she got into an altercation out in the hallway with Kayla Bumpus.
Why
where-
is that relevant to the guilt or innocence of
I'm
these
I'm
men?
about to go there, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just let me finish a second. She got into it because she was watching Kayla Bumpus's YouTube feed about this case. And Kayla Bumpus apparently called her.
Okay, you may get into whether she has been tracking this case.
Mhm.
You may not get into whether she got into a dispute with somebody
gets into
about
her-
their posts.
It gets into her bias against these defendants, Your Honor. It goes directly to it.
What are you proposing to ask?
I'm proposing to ask if she told Kayla Bumpus in the hallway that that was the last time she was going to call her a hoe. It goes direct,
I'm sorry, the last time who was going to
that
call?
Kayla, sorry for the pronouns, that Kayla Bumpus was going to call Investigator Viverito
We need to
a
get
hoe.
into who it was, or just that somebody,
I think we need to get into who it
Why?
was.
why?
Because she's married to Mr. Jackson.
Well, was she at the time? Is this for real, y'all?
Yeah, well,
None of this is relevant. Whatever is happening between Ms. Bumpus, Mr. Jackson, it has nothing to do with the guilt or innocence.
If she is-
Unfortunately, the bias of a witness, well, fortunately, or I'd strike that. It is not fortunate or unfortunate, except for the fact that it is dragging this case on even longer. But a witness's bias towards a party may always be shown.
If she is in a dispute, if she is
Don't
in,
talk at the same time.
Kayla Bumpus is not a party to this incident. Kayla.
Yes, but if she's married to one of the parties, then that might qualify.
If I
Here.
just maybe concur, I don't know, I'm not the proponent of this evidence, I'm hearing Mr. Weinstein out, but my silence should not be viewed as acquiescence that I believe this should be admitted. I need to hear what Mr. Weinstein's saying, because I may have an objection myself.
what I'm saying is that if there is a relationship between Ms. Bumpus and the defendant, then Investigator Viverito's bias against that.
Against being called a bad name?
No, if she is in an altercation with someone that's in a relationship with the defendant, I think, and especially if it is a threat, because
How is that a threat?
that's the last time you're going to call me a hoe. I mean, I've had clients arrested for less.
You may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, I'm not finished with my sentence. You may ask if she is following the case and has been following the case in any kind of manner. But it's really only relevant
Hylton.
if she listened to the testimony of a witness. So you could ask that. But if she's just looking at, and I don't even know if she was looking at, maybe somebody told her. So why don't we get her in here and find all of that out outside the presence of the jury before we go into something that ends up being a bunch of nothing?
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up when the jury wasn't here, Your Honor.
So can we also bring up, before we go into the side circus, the fact that Ms. Bumpus represented Mr. Copeland, we thought to open up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think saying who this is before we find out anything, I mean, do we know whether, we don't even know whether she's actually married to him or if she was married to him at the time, or if Miss Viverito knows that, or if it was because of any kind of bias against Mr. Stillwell, or just that she doesn't like being called that name.
Well, and no one would, Your Honor, obviously. But if she is in an altercation with someone in a relationship.
What do you mean by altercation?
A verbal altercation.
Okay. I mean,
You know,
a
if there's-
verbal, that's
if
the
there- I
last
don't-
time you're going to call me that?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's the last time you're going to call me that? That's not exactly an altercation. Is that,
Okay.
is that all you've got?
That's all I have.
Okay, that's it.
The state says that that's a threat,
I
though,
think
for their
this
evidence.
is 403 material.
There we go. One for the state, finally.
Chronic
Hoisted on my own
repetitive.
petard, Your Honor.
Correct. All right, let's get the witness back in and the jury back in.
Oh, boy. So Viverito made a comment to Kayla Bumpus in the hallway. That's the last time you're going to call me a hoe. And that would have came from Kayla's court stream yesterday, day 162, which means she was again watching trial coverage where testimony of other witnesses was discussed. So I don't agree with Whitaker saying that it's not a problem for her to be watching the trial. She did make a comment that she shouldn't be looking online for stuff about other testimony. So I don't know why she barked at Doug like that for that part of the argument. But there we go, you guys. There we go. Tune into WTF Wednesdays tomorrow and every Wednesday. Look at the whole defense table is just like collectively hilarious today. A whole mess. Oh, they keep muting and unmuting us. Max. And now think about it. Hilton has to like recover here and not be snippy snappy or exhausted going back into the rest of her questioning.
Go ahead, Ms. Hylton.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to publish now 397 VVF. And looking at 397 VVF, do you see that same PJV2 plus VR location that you saw on the spreadsheet?
I do.
Okay. And are you able to tell where that intersection is?
I am.
Where is that?
At Windsor, looks like just north of Rawson or at Rawson.
Now, on cross, do you recall when Mr. Shard asked you about the handgun that was on the table at 2830 Waters Road?
I do.
And he asked you about 3 types of guns: Springfield, Sig Sauer, and Smith & Wessons.
Yes.
Right. First, let me ask you, do you know if a Springfield makes a 40 caliber weapon?
They do.
Do you know if a Sig Sauer makes a 40 caliber weapon?
They do.
And do you know if a Smith & Wesson makes a 40 caliber weapon?
They do.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 531 VV, 532 VV, and 533 VV for demonstrative purposes only. Tell me if you recognize those types of weapons: a 531, 532, and 533 VV.
One is a Springfield XD firearm, one's a 6 Sauer P229, and one's a Smith & Wesson.
And looking at those 3 weapons, are they able to illustrate what you were talking about, the distinction between the Glock 27 as well as these other types of weapons?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to admit 531 VV, 532 VV, and 533 VV for demonstrative purposes.
Admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Looking at 531 VV, are you able to tell the jury about the distinction you were making between the grip of, say, a Springfield versus the Glock that you were talking about on the table at 2830 Waters Road?
Yes. It would be along the bottom part of the grip.
Say it one more time.
Along the bottom part of the grip. Should be right. You might have to scroll it up for the jury.
Or can you use the one at the...
Or, I'm sorry, right here. This is straight across, like with a little bit of a piece that comes down towards the back.
And is that distinguishable from what you were describing with the Glock?
Yes.
All right. Now looking at 532 VV.
Again, the same thing. You'll see there's something that comes down in the back, but otherwise it's higher up towards the front.
And you have to speak into the mic for me because I can't hear you.
Sorry, it's lower towards the back, higher up towards the front. So it kind of a part that dips down in the back and then comes up.
And for 533, sorry, what kind of gun is this 532 VV?
I believe that's a Springfield XD.
Or 532?
I'm sorry, which one? 532? It's a 6 Sauer P229.
Okay. And then 533 VV.
You'll see again here, there's a piece in the back, but then once you get to the front, it's just straight across.
And then What type of weapon is 533 BV?
That would be the Smith & Wesson. I'm sorry, the 530. Yeah, the Smith & Wesson.
Now I want to go to, and Mr. Kokomo, if you can help me out, please. DS 57A, DS 57C, and DS 58A. And while that's being pulled up, Mr. Shard, they asked you whether or not there were people, I guess, not to say looking for Mr. Stillwell, but that there'd be some concerns for his safety because of the Tierra Jones killing. Do you remember a line of questioning regarding Tierra Jones?
Yes, several years ago, that was an incident.
When was the Tierra Jones killing?
It was several years ago. I can't remember the exact date.
Do you remember the year?
Not offhand.
All right. Now, looking at, I believe this is DS 57A. Is this the communication between Mr. Stillwell and Miss Alexander regarding the shooting at McDaniel? Excuse
It
me,
is.
at I-20 and McDaniel.
It is.
Do you see any response from Mr. Stillwell in the text message that's, dang, babe, I was just at that intersection. Or, man, glad it wasn't me. I just missed being at that location.
I do not.
Do you see any text messages to Miss Alexander that says, man, I was just at that BP gas station a little while ago. That's up the street from there.
I don't.
I want to go to DS 58. And is that the communication between Mr. Stillwell and his grandma?
It is.
Do you see where she says, hope you are not near Windsor Street shooting on the news? And says, answer me, please.
Yes.
Does he say anything to his grandma? I'm like, know what, grandma? I was over there earlier, but it's not me.
He does not.
Now, we talked about searching on Fox 5. Do you remember talking about the searches on Fox 5?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see any searches on March 14th when both his grandmother and Taisha were asking him about whether or not he was around that location or if he heard about it? Did you see any searches for the shooting on that day, on March 14th or in the early morning hours of March 15th?
No.
Are all of the searches on March 17th?
They are.
And is that the day he was ultimately arrested for these charges?
Yes.
Now I want to go to Stacy Exhibit 437 VV, page 2145. April 1st, 2022, from 11 minutes to 11:20 seconds into that call.
What time's again? I'm sorry.
11 to 11:20. And you can pause the call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just assume. Hey,
Yeah, I already know. Like when they got down, go to wiping down, doing them got down, them. You know how they gunpowder, forensics, all that shit there.
yeah.
You gonna come back clean. You see what I'm saying? So I ain't tripping on that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
During that call, he says when they talk about that GSR stuff, it's going, when they wipe it down, it's going to come back clean.
Correct.
At any point, he's saying, I don't know why I don't even know what any of this is about.
No.
Does he say to his best friend, I don't even know why they took this?
Proper commentary, also facts on that.
Sustained.
Does he say to Demekian Grant on this call, I don't even know why they took that car?
No.
Does he say to Demekian earlier in the call, that Miles and Quay, they don't need to worry?
Yes.
Miles and Quay, were they both in a Ford Fusion?
Yes.
Were they in the car that was furthest from Mr. Drinks?
Yes.
Did you hear when Mr. Stillwell told Mr. Garlington, I told them not to talk to the police, don't say nothing? Did you hear what he told Mr. Garlington that?
Yes.
And this entire call is on the contraband phone
Correct.
that can't be monitored,
Correct.
or outside of it being a wiretap, cannot be monitored.
Correct.
LPR readers, what information do you need about a car in order to look for a car on an LPR reader?
A license plate, a tag number.
Do you at least need to know the make and model of a car?
Overruled.
You can try by make and model, but it's not very accurate sometimes, especially at night.
With the two cars that we saw in the FedEx surveillance video, were you able to see any license plate information on either of those two cars in the FedEx video?
I was not.
And at that FedEx video, is that where we see the Audi and the Ford Fusion run the red light?
Yes.
Court's indulgence.
What are we doing? Repassing?
All right,
Uh-huh.
recross.
Recross.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Investigator Viverito, good afternoon.